Lewis compactor. Now let us see in the beam strength equation, SB is equal to M into B into sigma B into Y. Y is Lewis compactor. And what is its significance in spur gear design? That we are going to see in this session. Okay. Now let us see here. We know very well beam strength. We have already derived this expression. SB is equal to MB sigma B into Y. And I have already discussed this. To avoid the tooth failure or breakage of gear tooth, this value beam strength should be greater or equal to P effective. And always it should be greater, it should not be equal. If equal, there is no chance of failure, but it should be greater than P effective. And what do you mean by P effective? That is the load which is coming on a gear tooth, and because of that, gear tooth is going to fail. I will discuss later on how to determine the P effective or effective load on gear tooth later on. Okay, before that, in early session, we have seen how to find out the M is equal to D by Z, then how to take the value of sigma B is equal to SUT by 3, and for a bronze, 40% of SUT. Now let us see what is B now, how to take the value of B here. Now we are going to see here how to take the value of B. And what is B here? You know very well, B is the face width of the gear tooth. Now again here, this B or face width is always expressed in terms of module, or B is equal to something M, or it is expressed in terms of module. That means once you know the M means D by Z, so you can easily find out the face width. You can easily find out the face width. You can easily find out the face width. Now let us see how to find out it. Now here, first we will see here, if face width is not given and you don't know the value of face width, that time what you have to do, you have to assume the gear tooth face width, it is in the range of 8 times module and 12 module. That means face width should be greater than 8 m and less than 12 m. It is a optimum range of face width. It is a optimum range of face width. But that means in between 8 m to up to 12 m, that means you can take 10 times module, face width B is equal to 9 module, B is equal to 10 module, B is equal to 11 module. 11 module and here 10 module. Okay, that means you have a 3 option, maybe 9 m, maybe 10 m, maybe 11 m, and m means module, and you know very well that. But in preliminary stages of gear design, what you have to decide, if the face width is not given and you would like to design a spur gear, that time you can assume face width is equal to 10 m. What you have to do? You have to assume 10 module. Now question arises. I have told you the optimum range of face width is, or it should be greater than 8 times the module and less than the 12 times the module. But in your mind, question may arise, why not it is less than 8 m and why not it is more than 12 m? Now I will discuss that thing with you. Suppose if face width is small or B is less than 7 module or up to 8 module. So what would happen? Because of this, what is going to happen? It decreases the capacity of the gear tooth to resist shock and vibration. Try to understand. It decreases the capacity to resist shock and vibration. Vibration means shock absorbing capacity, or vibration absorbing capacity gets reduced if it's less than 7 m or near about 8 m. Try to understand. That means when if phase width is small, because of that, gear tooth has a poor capacity to resist shock and absorb vibration. This is first one. Second one, if phase width is small, wear rate is also faster. Wear rate of what? The meshing gear tooth. Try to understand. You know, one gear teeth of pinion and one gear teeth of a gear which comes in contact during motion or power transmission or a torque transmission. And if his phase width is small, wear rate is faster. This is another reason. And it results in coarse pitch also. There are two pitch, fine pitch and coarse pitch is having the relation with a engagement of the gear tooth and is having relation with a noisy or noiseless operation like a nut and bolts. So that's why it should not be less than 8 m. Try to understand. This is one thing. What would happen if phase width is greater than 12 times the m? I will discuss that once again. Look at this. And if it's greater than or more than 12 times the module, if it's too large, so what would happen? There, that means size of the phase width. You know, the phase width is, look at the figure that I am constructing here. Here, it's a phase width, it's a B. And if you are going to increase the size here towards this side, up to 12 m or greater than 12 m, what would happen? There may be possibility. In analysis, we have assumed the PT, or we have considered this a phase width as a cantilever beam. Again, another assumption, uniform distribution of that PT on the phase width. But as the phase width is going to increase, what would happen? The concentration of load at one end of the gear tooth, that means there is no uniform distribution of load on phase width of the gear tooth. There may be concentration of load at any one of the end, maybe starting end, at the middle, or at the end of the gear tooth. Try to understand. And this is due to misalignment. This is due to elastic deformation of the shafts or warping of the gear tooth. Try to understand. And because of that, this value of B or a phase width should be within the limit. Within the limit means in optimum range, and that optimum range always you have to take, it should be greater than 8 module and less than 12 module. And if it is not mentioned, always assume B is equal to 12 m, 10 m. B is equal to 10 m. Now, in this equation, you know, the SB is equal to M into B into sigma B into Y. Now we have seen how to find, how to take the value of M. Now we have seen how to take the value of B and how to take value of sigma B also. Only one point or factor is remaining Y, that is Lewis form factor. You know very well, M or B, you can take 10 times module. Sigma B, SUT by 3 now, or 1/3 of SUTM, you know very well. Now let us see how to take the, how to decide the value of Y, that is Lewis form factor. Now we are going to see here, and his physical significance in design of spur gear also. Now let us see Lewis form factor. Now again, while deriving the Lewis equation or a SB, so we have substituted, you know, in the SB is equal to M into B into sigma B into Y. I am repeating many times. This Y is replaced by this term T square upon 6 into H into M. If physical significance means its role. If I am going to say here, this Y, Lewis form factor depends on, if anyone is going to ask you, the Lewis form factor depends on what? T, tooth thickness, correct? Then it depends on H, height of the tooth, and it depends on M. Again, you know very well, this M is depends on M is equal to D upon Z. M depends on D means pitch circle diameter and M depends on Z means number of teeth. In general, I will say why Levy's form factor depends on T, tooth thickness, then height of the tooth, then pitch circle diameter of the gear tooth, and number of teeth on gear. Try to understand. It's a physical significance. And based on that, as T is going to change, as H is going to change, as M or D is going to change, or Z is going to change. And based on that, this Y is also going to change. Y means Levy's form factor. Try to understand. If anyone is going to ask you, Levy's form factor depends on, so you should know it depends on. So you have to write this expression T square upon 6 into H into M, and M is equal to D by Z. Depends on module means D and Z. Depends on T, depends on H. Again here, it is now here when I am saying it's depend on T and H, that means tooth thickness and the height. And these tooth thickness and height of the gear tooth depends on different annular system. Different annular system means yesterday we have seen 14.5 degree full depth annular system, then 20 degree full depth annular system, then 20 degree stub tooth system, 22.5 degree, 25 degree. But in general, we are using 20 degree full depth annular system. You know very well, you study in theory of machine. This T is having relation with this annular system. This H is having relation with this annular system. That means while taking or deciding the value of Levy's form factor Y, you have to refer whether which involute system you are going to use, whether 14.5, whether 20 degree full depth involute system, whether 20 degree stub tooth system. And here, when we are stating that 14.5, 20 degree or 20 degree stub, that means it also depends on pressure angle also. Pressure angle also. And yesterday, that means Levy's form factor is having a relation with pressure angle also. In this way, you have to note down or clarify mathematically the physical significance of Levy's factor. Try to understand. I hope you got it these points. It's okay. Now here, I have shown to you one table here. And this Z means number of teeth, Y is Levy's form factor. Here, which is given for which involute system? 20 degree full depth involute system. If we are referring 20 degree full depth involute system and number of teeth on a pinion 18, that time you can take by referring this table, what you have to do? You have to take the Y value of Y 0.308. Again, if number of teeth on pinion 24, you can take 0.337, and it is applicable for pinion as well as the gear. Pinion as well as the gear also. So what you have to do? You have to find out the Levy's form factor for pinion as well as the gear. I will explain that later on. Now let us see. All these values here table is given. Similarly, likewise, this 20 full depth involute system for 14.5 degree involute full depth involute system also there is another chart available in data book. Data book means gear design handbook. You can refer AK Mitra's handbook available in library also. Even though in the PhD data book also it's given. Even though in Bandari's book 20 degree full depth involute system is given. I have referred from the same book. Okay. So you have to refer the chart, and by using the chart, you can take the values of this Y Levy's form factor. But you should know the significance, and this T and H is having relation with 20 degree, 14 degree, and having relation with the Y. Try to understand. This is Levy's form factor. How to take from the chart for 20 degree. Again, as per AGMA, we are not using the AGMA. American Gear Manufacturers Association, one gear design method is given. We are not referring that. But in the data book, you will find all the formulas are given according to them. Sometimes while designing it, you can refer it, no problem. But here, as per our syllabus, always you have to go for 20-degree full depth annular system, and you know very well why it's the good one, then the 20-degree stub, then the 14.5, and already you studied in theory of machine also. And if required, I will elaborate also. Okay, no problem. Now, this is about the physical significance. The Lewis form factor depends on different parameters. It's okay and how to take its value from the chart. Now let us see here. Here again, here you will find on this x-axis number of teeth for the rack, and then Lewis form factor y, it's on y-axis. So you will find how the Lewis form factor is going to change, as I have discussed earlier. And because of this pressure angle here, look at this here, this pressure angle, and this h and t, thickness and the height of the gear tooth, is having the relation with this different annular system. So look at this from this graph also you will get the idea. If 20-degree, look at this phi pressure angle 20-degree. This line gives you, for suppose 17 teeth, you can look at here, you will get the Lewis form factor y for a pinion as well as the gear. For 24, here you can locate by referring the chart also. But here sometimes for a, again here, two lines are given for 20-degree and 20-degree. Now here, there is a misconception. One line is going down. Look at this. One is the theoretical and one is the practical one, which is going the up. So whether to take the practical and the theoretical values, like while selecting the gear tooth, if you are going to use a formula, you will get a theoretical value, and practically minimum number of teeth. Yesterday also we have seen minimum number of teeth for 20-degree full depth annular system, 17 point something. And how to decide t? Z mean is equal to, that is 1 upon sine square pi, and you can calculate the theoretical value, that is 17 point something, it is 18. But in actual practice you can take this value is near about 12 or 13, no problem. Likewise also, two lines are given for a full depth annular system here. Again for a 25-degree system, the values. Only why the chart is important, as the pressure angle increases, so you will get the idea, Lewis form factor is also going to increase. You have to remember this one thing. As the pressure angle increases, Lewis form factor value is going to increase. This is one aspect that you have to take from this figure. And again, earlier chart I am going to refer. Look at this. Again, you will get one idea from this. As the number of teeth on the gear or a pinion increases, look at this. The value of Lewis form factor is also increases. For a 15 teeth, it's 0.289. Again, for a 20 teeth, it's 0.33. If it's 40 teeth, it's 389. That means as the number of teeth on pinion or gear increases, what is going to happen? Increases means upward side. The Lewis form factor is also, value of Lewis form factor is also going to increase. You have to remember. Why I am discussing these things? If you should know the physical significance of this y. Y depends on T, H, M. M depends on D and Z. As the Z increases, Y is also increasing. T and H is having relation with different annular system. Annular means 14, 20-degree, 20-degree stop, 20-degree full depth annular, and here I have mentioned on a graph also 20-degree stop, 20-degree involute, then 25 likewise. And here as the number of teeth increases, Lewis form factor increases. We have seen from the chart or a table, and as the pressure angle increases, again value of this Lewis form factor also increases. In this way you should know the mathematical relation and relation with the others also. It will help while designing the spur gear. Okay, Now, but it's okay to find out the Lewis form factor. Always what you have to do, refer this table or refer the chart. But how to calculate if it's not given? Then how to calculate the Lewis form factor? And for that purpose, again, what you have to do, some standard empirical relations are given. And these standard, again, look at this. It's not the standard equation means someone has derived. Again, here, you know, the earlier equation here, Z, then Lewis form factor, then here the line for 14.5, then another line for 20-degree stub involute or 20-degree full depth involute or a 25-degree likewise. And again here, as the Z increases and pressure angle increases, Y increases. So here mathematical equation of these lines are written. Then is the regression analysis which is carried out, and by fitting, you know, the curve fitting analysis, you can say this empirical relation is derived from this graph or the charts earlier referred or given. All these are the given table from the charts, and based on that, this empirical equation or relation is given to find out the Lewis form factor. If you have a pen and notebook, you can note down. For a 20-degree full depth involute system, Lewis form factor is equal to 0.484 minus 2.87. For 20-degree stub involute system, Y is equal to 0.55 minus 2.64 upon Z. And for 14.5 degree full depth involute time composite system, Y is equal to 0.39 minus 0.148. And in some of the books, it is written Y is equal to 0.39 minus 2.15 upon Z. Try to understand. So you can write down this equation. You have to remember. If it's not given for 20-degree, directly you can use equation where Z means number of teeth, maybe on pinion or maybe on gear. So you can use this equation and calculate the Lewis form factor by using the empirical relations also. You have to remember this. Now, I have discussed all the parameters which are associated with beam strength of spur gear. SB is equal to, now you know very well, M, B, sigma B and Y. I have already told you how to take the value of M. B is equal to 10 times module if not given. Sigma B is equal to SCT by 3. And how to find out the Y by using different involute systems or by referring the table or a chart. Now you know very well all these things. MB into sigma B, then you can easily find out the SB. And I have told you SB should be greater than P effective. And next session I will explain what do you mean by effective load on gear tooth. Okay. But here, that means by using all this value, you will get SB. But here, to find out the SB, whether to find out this SB for pinion or SB for gear, and that is important. So this thing is a very important one. Try to give attention. So what we have to do, we have to decide whether pinion should be designed first to check for the beam strength, or whether gear should be designed first to check for the beam strength or bending stress values. That's why I have written which gear should be designed first, whether the pinion or the gear. And for that purpose, and always in DME 1 also, you know very well, always we have designed the part where the area is weaker. Area is weaker or dimensions for weaker dimensions. You know very well in case of quarter joint, knuckle joint, in case of coupling also, in case of shaft also, in case of design again fluctuating load. That means area of weaker section which is considered. Here also in meshing pair means one is pinion, one is gear, and you know very well pinion is having a pinion is always small than the gear. Gear is a large gear and pinion is a small gear. So we have to decide which one is the weak in between pinion and gear. Pinion and gear. Now let us decide it. Now you know very well If pinion, what I am saying, please give attention. If pinion and gears are made up of same material, so what would happen? Pinion is always weaker. Why it's a weaker? It's a smaller one. And you can refer this equation. SB is equal to M into B into sigma B into Y. Now, why pinion is weaker when it's made up of same material? Because M remains same. Then B is also same 10 times module. Then sigma B, bending stress based on SUT by 3. SUT is same for same material, is also same. And why? That decides. And for a pinion, number of teeth are less. That's why pinion is always weaker for same material. And therefore, when pinion and gear are made up of same material, Levy's form factor Y is always less for pinion, and then pinion is weaker, and pinion should be designed first. But when different materials are used, which one is weaker? That we have to decide. Which one is weaker? That you have to decide. For different material, M again same, B is also same, that is 10 times module. But sigma B in terms of SUT, which is different for pinion material, SUT is different for gear material, and Y is also different because number of teeth for pinion and number of teeth for gear also different. And that's why this product sigma B into Y decides which one is weaker, whether pinion is weaker, whether gear is weaker. And therefore, when different materials for pinion and gears are used, then product sigma B, here not ESB, sigma B into Y, which decides. And when this product is less, you can say for a pinion is weaker. When this product sigma B into Y is less or a smaller for a gear, you can say gear is weaker. In this way, you have to decide pinion and gear, which one is weaker, and accordingly you can design first. Today, thank you. I have reported Vibhandari's book for this session. Today I have